Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of The Progressive World, where we talk about everything and anything related to the progressive world. And I always say that we have a packed show, but this time, seriously, we do have a packed show. So as usual, there are timestamps below if you want to jump from one story to another. So of course, we're going to talk about TYT, Kulinski, Jimmy Dore, Glenn Greenwald's debate with Nathan Robinson, and a bunch of other stories. But Sam, if you're ready, let's start with the whole Julian Assange thing that's come out. So I don't know how much you follow this, but pretty much one of the main witnesses, or a relatively key witness in the United States case against Julian Assange, this Icelandic person, Sigurd Sigi, gave an interview to an Icelandic newspaper or magazine, called Stunden, and he pretty much walked back everything that he had said. So before, he had said he was very high level and at the at WikiLeaks, and that he was asked by Julian Assange to do X, Y, and Z. And he actually showed documents now, like text messages and stuff that he hadn't released before, to prove his new position that no, that was all made up and that was all bullshit. So I've just two quick quotes. Go ahead.
And it was, I think, due to the pressure from the FBI.
Exactly. So I'll just read two quotes. Torderson's rogue acts were not limited to communications of that nature, as he also admits to Stunden, the magazine, that he set up avenues of communication with journalists and had media pay for lavish trips abroad where he misrepresented himself as an official representative of WikiLeaks. And so apparently after months of collaboration, the FBI kind of lost interest in him, and about the same time, charges were piling up against him with the Icelandic authorities for massive fraud, forgeries, theft, and even for sexual violations against underage boys he had tricked or forced into sexual acts on the other. So super shady person. A lot of the United States second case apparently against Julian Assange, there are kind of two cases. They brought a second one, and that one is really based on what he had said here. And then just the latest with Julian Assange. So he pretty much is still in prison. This weekend was apparently his 50th birthday, because he's waiting on the judge, because the US has appealed the UK judge's decision that he can't be extradited to the US. So pretty much if this judge throws away, or if he rejects the appeal of the US government, Julian Assange should technically be free and be able to come out of prison, because right now he's only staying in prison because of the fact that the Americans are appealing it. So what this latest
and they don't allow him bail.
Yes, exactly. And this latest that come out really, so I was listening to a human rights lawyer who works for Julian Assange on Democracy Now! So I mean, she was just saying, so based on this, the judge even has more reason to just completely forget about this and let Julian Assange come out. But I'm just saying this because I guess it doesn't really affect the case right now, right? Because right now it's about the appeal of him being able to come out of prison.
And the reason the judge said they can't extradite Julian Assange was because she said that because of the great US prison system, there's a chance that he's going to get killed, basically. Mm-hmm. So I don't know how it affects it, but just another. It's good it's good to know that, like, whoever has any doubts now has no doubts.
Exactly. And then
a lot of, on the positive side, a lot of people came out and sent I saw Slavoj Žižek and a couple of people send their birthday messages to Julian Assange.
And your buddy Jeremy Corbyn tried to go visit him, and there's this whole photo, and he's asking for his parliamentarian right to visit Julian Assange.
As if every weekend we hang out.
He's one of your favorites, right?
He's my favorite. Yeah. Well, John McDonnell is my favorite in UK politics. Anybody check him out. But Jeremy, I love Jeremy.
So I thought we can quickly link this. So we talked about this last week, right? Chelsea Manning did this podcast with Ryan Grimm, and in it he basically,
which was, in my view, very. It's not a hugely newsworthy thing, but it was discussed. Well,
but say why. Say why. You didn't say why. because of the quote
Oh,
that came out.
yeah, the quote the quote was that if I'm paraphrasing, but Chelsea Manning saying that if Ken Klippenstein, if I'm not mispronouncing that, was back active when I was originally doing the leaks, I would have contacted him instead of Julian. Like contacted him then. It doesn't mention Julian Assange by name. The implication is clear.
Yeah, exactly. So when we talked about this, you mentioned that you hadn't listened to the podcast, and I hadn't. We had heard other people talk about them. So I went back and listened to it, which will be 40 minutes of my life that I will not get that I will not get back. I'm joking. Manning talked about Chelsea Manning, talked about the prison system a lot apart and her experience in prison, which that part I'll admit it was interesting. But she never mentions why she would have rather given them, because exactly in the quote, I think she said
How
that.
does it come up?
They're just talking, and the whole premise I was telling you of the podcast episode makes no sense. It's called like Chelsea Manning meets Ken, but I don't understand. Like it's put as in like these two are equals. You know what I mean? I'm not saying Ken is a bad guy or something. I get that he works in this area and he works with leaks and all this. It just still made no sense. You know, if it was Chelsea Manning meets Edward Snowden, I get it. These two did the same
even
thing.
to be fair, even if it was Chelsea meets Jeremy Scahill, I just because Jeremy Scahill was used to be their hosts, like although it's on the deconstructed.
Yeah, this is exactly
Ryan Green.
Yeah, this is different podcast.
So
I mean, it's not a big deal. I just found it weird. Like Chelsea Manning meets. Okay, I get that this journalist.
No, but you don't remember why would she say that just out of nowhere?
Yeah, they just talk about a little bit. The only thing that she
was
mentions...
it Ken's birthday? They were trying to make him happy.
I don't know. He comes and goes too, kind of. He's not always involved in the discussion, kind of. And then the only thing that I recall that they say is that Chelsea Manning, she says that she went to some bigger outlets and they rejected her, and then she gave it to Julian Assange. That's all she said for what I listened to, but
fair enough.
Yeah, she doesn't really explain. I don't really understand why she says that, which is, I mean, it's her right, and she's been through a lot. Let's not forget everything that she went through, but it's just a weird thing saying that about Assange. As far as we know, he hasn't done anything wrong to her. So yeah,
he hasn't done anything wrong to her. He has gone to jail trying to protect her and others. And as she mentioned clearly, he was the one who was willing to publish this. And and I don't, to be fair, I don't know how bad his situation has been in the prison, but I don't think it's been any much better than the situation that Chelsea Manning had. So, you know, I mean, not seeing your children grow up, that's a bit of a thing. Usually people don't like. So it's just the way, like, it's like somebody's down and he's your friend and he has, in my view, objectively helped you, and you kick him. Yeah.
I know, exactly. It was really strange, right? I mean, that's all I'm left. I listened to the podcast. I didn't really get anything out of it. And you know, Julian Assange is only turning 50 now, but if you see his recent pictures, the poor guy looks like he's about to turn 70. I was actually quite happy when I found that, if I'm not mistaken, because he could come out. There is, I mean, right now, I think, of course, this is as closest as he's been to getting out of prison.
I think he's gonna come out in a year or so, as late as they can make it. So, but that's not gonna, like, the 15 years and his mental health, and you know, when you're being spied in the bathroom. I don't know. I'm not, again, she could have just said no. Anyways, it's just such a dickish move. Somebody's in so much trouble and you still don't.
I know. So if anybody else picked up on some reason, which I missed when I listened to the podcast, because I mean,
I can't, like I
mentioned, it was boring.
Please.
I don't find Ryan Grimm that boring, but the way that the Intercept make their podcast are just aggressively boring. They're like on purpose, like they make them, it's just too much. But anyway, let's move on to our second story. Now, this story is fun. Did you watch it? So Max Blumenthal and the Grayzone, they defeat this lawsuit by an absolutely like spoiled journalist. So do you want me to give the main points, or and then we get into it?
Sure. I want to give a slight background. This
Please.
lady, Salome Anderson, her father was kidnapped in 1980s by a group affiliated or potentially affiliated with Hezbollah. The thing about Hezbollah and a lot of other of these type of organizations is that they are not, it's not Exxon, or it's not like Disney. Everybody doesn't have a card. There's no central office with the HR and all that. You have all these cells, terrorist cells or group cells, military cells. I mean, that's the key to winning asymmetric warfare, basically. You have these separate cells acting independently, and then you use a lot of times these cells, just like police, by the way, a lot of times recruits from criminals for some of the more hardcore things they want to do. These organizations recruit from criminals, and famously the guy who was before Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi was the head of ISIS, or what later on became ISIS. Before that, he was a pimp and a gangster. That's what he was. And then he evolved into. So her father, was kidnapped in 1980s and was released, I think, in 1991. And it's not clear whether it was Hezbollah or one of the people who pretend to be Hezbollah, because it's a big business, kidnapping in Lebanon and like in South America. It's kind of like South America. They kidnap you, they ask for $500 or something, and they drop you back at your families. But he was kept for 6 years, and it is very likely that it was Hezbollah because he was an American journalist and all that. But so I just wanted to give that historical background, because I do feel like that historical background is not in the Grayzone video I saw. They didn't really refer to it.
No, they talk about it a little bit. And just one thing that you didn't
I didn't watch
add,
the whole thing.
and just one thing that you didn't add, as a result of this, her dad won tens of millions of dollars by the US government based on seized Iranian assets. And she herself apparently got 6 million herself. So this is very important to the rest of the story, kind of.
Sure. And by the way, I just wanted to, because I wanted to get to this.
No, it's important background.
For nothing. But I would say that that's kind of like saying that if, for example, let's say McDonald's comes to Iran at some point, or Coca-Cola or whatever. Coca-Cola is here though, although I don't know how, but they are here. But it's like saying, we're gonna, because that's what happens to Iranian money and assets. We're gonna block them until US, this is all because of the financial cost of the 1953 coup in Iran, like, or the passenger plane they shut down. It's completely ridiculous. I mean, this is like, the kidnappings are awful and inhumane, and these people should be compensated and they should be taken care of, but not by somebody else's stolen money. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, system of, it's like, okay, so something bad happened to you, I'm gonna commit some other crimes to fix this. Fuck off. Anyway,
but I mean,
go
this
ahead.
background, but this background is essential because that's where she got her money anyway, right? So she got this money. So what's happened the latest is that pretty much Ben Norton and Max Blumenthal and the Grayzone, they wrote a story 2 years ago saying that, how this lady herself, Salome Anderson, admits that has admitted and tweeted that her sources in Hezbollah are bullshit, and she has this. We'll show the tweet after when we have some more fun.
Are not to be very so we consider it very trustworthy.
Exactly. So she herself admits it. She puts out tweets saying that Iranians firing missiles into Israel. So that's the latest one. And after that, she pretty much says that, okay, folks, one of my sources has proven incredibly unreliable, and I apologize, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to take a break and all this. So all they do is cover this. And after they do this, she comes back with a $1 million lawsuit saying that, it's libel and
defamation.
Defamation and all this. So she tried to sue them, and the judge. Yeah.
Just first legal question. Shouldn't you have some fame to be defamed? It's like me right now. They defamed me on the comment section. Yeah.
Good point. But yeah, and I mean, the judge was apparently not impressed at all. Like, one of the things that he says that I don't think anyone expected to see a journalist using libel law to try to sue another journalist in a local court. So just absolute bullshit. So it was a $1 million case. And then when you hear the stuff that she was saying, so let's look at the photos that I sent you. So the first photo is hilarious. It's Max Blumenthal and Ben Norton, and they pretty much, it's the pictures of the tweets, and they took this to court, and it's the picture of the tweets that she had posted to show that, listen, this is what she said. We wrote an article, so I don't even know what you're talking about. Then the second one is just this message that she sent. I mean, here you kind of start seeing what kind of like spoiled and messed up person she is. She sent this message to Max Blumenthal's lawyer. I can't wait for the look on your face when your client is served and you see the letterhead. You're playing with the big boys now, Morin. That's the name of their lawyer. No dime store bullshit here. And I have a huge population of real journalists who can't wait to take Max Blumenthal and his fake news machine down. And then, so the next tweet I had sent you, Sam, is pretty much her saying that, you know, it was bullshit. I love this. I'm taking a break to sort out what's real and what's not. I don't think a break will help you to sort out. That's like the middle of the tweet, the one that starts with, okay, folks. I just didn't want to read it again. And then, so those other tweets that I'm just flashing on TV right now, these are the videos that she had put out. Another video of Iranian missile fire at the Israeli Golan, sent to me by a source in Hezbollah, which was found to be complete bullshit. And then the last thing that I sent you, so this is where you get a little insight into her. So this is a memoir. So this person, for some reason, at the age of 24, 25, thought that her life is so fascinating and interesting that it's already time to write a memoir. And in the memoir she wrote, because of the lawsuits my family won against Iran, I had all the money in the world to spend on drugs, and I made some dealers a lot of money. So you get a little insight into this person who just thought that, you know, she's gonna destroy Max Blumenthal.
By the way, sorry, I just continued reading the paragraph, and it just gets worse as a sort of a.
Well, it's really, yeah. When I was like, 23,
she goes on to admit being a homewrecker. It seems. What the fuck?
Like, I'm telling you. But so anyway, Max Blumenthal and Ben Norton did a whole 2-hour podcast on this. It's really fun if you want to go listen to it. There's also an article. And then I have a little comment to make, but go ahead, Sam.
Just the level of arrogance. He must have seen me and thought, jackpot. Like, yeah. Anyway,
I don't know who she thinks she is. You know, it reminds me of, there was this white, like, American lady. She went to Africa or something, and then she wrote a book about her experience. No. Some kind of nobody. And then she wrote a book about her experience, and then she's like, people looking at me this way or this white, and like, you know, just thinking of themselves like who they are. But Sam, the suing thing, anytime I think of the word someone's like, oh, I'm gonna sue you, it's such a like a spoiled rich person instinct. If you ever talked about it, in most cases, okay, I know there are class action lawsuits where a bunch of people get together, but just the idea of contacting a lawyer will cost you like half of your paycheck. I mean, just engaging with a lawyer is an idea that is a rich person instinct, having that, oh, I'm going to sue you. It's either childish because you don't know anything. I'm like, yeah, go ahead. When the lawyer picks up your phone call, like, just calling a lawyer is not easy. The busiest people who get paid hundreds of dollars per hour.
Wait.
Yeah.
I think you're referring to suing someone for defamation or libel specifically, because of course, if somebody, like, I don't know, runs you over with a car, you sue them, right? That makes sense. And you're right, legal fees are too high, but that's a problem with the legal system. That's not a problem.
If someone runs over you, you don't try to sue them. Like, you don't need to sue them.
How do you? Of course you need to sue. What do you mean?
like, I guess you have a case against them. Yeah, I guess it is like suing them.
Yeah, it's suing.
Yeah.
Or if a company brings you food with worms in it or something, you sue them because you paid them and they or whatever. So my point is that yes, in my view, suing for libel and defamation is extremely a spoiled thing to do, because you can just respond like a human being unless they make very specific accusations. And in some cases, yeah, I think if you're, for example, a journalist and they say that you're paid by the Russians, I think in that case, it wouldn't be a bad idea, maybe.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like in the example that you gave when you get hit by a car, that's such an obvious one. But you hear it all the time in the US and stuff, like someone has like an altercation with like a business or something like that. They're like, I'm gonna come and sue you or something like that. Just that's more of
that's a media creation largely specific to LA and California, that there's a hot coffee poured on me, I'm going to sue you all. That's more of a media thing, because as you said, in reality its legal costs are so high and it doesn't work like that. It's more of a pop culture thing, I think.
It does happen in real life too. It's not just a TV thing. I mean, a lot of people have this
in
like
90s instinct, I think,
and they say, I'll sue you for that, or they should go sue them.
Sure, mostly in LA. I just mean, I don't want to generalize about, like, again, I think suing for libel and defamation is extremely a spoiled thing to do. But suing in general, it depends on the case. And I agree. I know what you're referring to, this pop culture image that, like this brat guy, that rich asshole that, somebody in the service industry doesn't serve them well. Oh, I'm going to sue you all. But I think, again, I don't know how real that is. That's all I'm saying.
I think it's relatively real, because I hear people, even people who are familiar with American culture, and they just say that like all the time, like, oh, he should sue them, or they should sue them. They
say it, but they don't do it though.
Yeah,
like they say it in Iran.
Just the idea. I mean, really, I just find it's either you know nothing about the law system, or like you're someone spoiled who thinks, with your money you're gonna go after and bring
usually
them down.
to be fair, usually she's right.
What?
This was a particularly bad case. I mean, usually with money you can get the results
for sure. But I love how she was only going for $1 million, and this shows that there's such a poor, like, small media organization. Yeah, I mean, if it was a bigger one for $1 million, they would rather you to just go away. Just paying their lawyers costs more than $1 million.
She's a typical, like, she's crazy as well. Now she's using mental health as an excuse, like, she's crazy.
I didn't see. But okay, Sam, I think we've reached the part of episode, and please, people, like and subscribe if you like the content so far. But we've reached, sorry, what? Drum roll. Jimmy Dore. Oh, okay, go ahead. What?
I would add that this was a substantial story, especially because there is so many people doing what she does. Mm-hmm. So besides all the fun parts which she got crushed, pay attention to propaganda, or any, I think, news that comes up. You have to be very careful with propagandists.
No.
Everybody's a propagandist, but some are more than the others.
Yeah, 100%. And you should go listen to Max Blumenthal and Ben Noren. They talk about the bigger consequences of this if this case had actually gone through. And
sorry for interrupting.
No worries.
Yeah.
My drum roll. Okay. It's back. Okay. Jimmy Dore. I guess. So let's not go back 50 years. We're just going to start at Kyle Kulinski, right?
Sure. And then in the middle, let's just briefly at the beginning state, I think, our position in which TYT tried to smear Jimmy Dore and Aaron Maté, and then kind of tried to low-key blackmail them, I think. Sure. And then they responded, not in kind, just responded to their bullshit. And then a lot of people were silent. A lot of people who were friends with both of these people were silent and didn't weigh in. And then, I think you can know.
Exactly. So when Kyle made his video, I watched the video. It was at nighttime. I mean, it wasn't memorable in any way. That was the first thing. And the fact that he reduced it all to drama, I was not shocked because I had just watched the Vanguard. They did the little they did a little segment on when Kyle Kulinski and Crystal Ball had Hassan Piker, that's his name, right? Had him on their show, and he said, it's all drama, and they didn't correct that. So that part, I wasn't surprised. I was just like, okay. Then I was a bit shocked at the moment at the way Kyle reacted over the whole joke that Jimmy Dore had made. I was like, it's a bit too much, and Jimmy apologized, and honestly wasn't the worst thing in my mind. And Jimmy apologized anyway, but it wasn't the worst thing the way, Kyle said it. Someone said that about my mom or something. And I love Aaron Maté's response. Did you hear Aaron Maté? Aaron Maté is like, well, if my mom's sister or partner were blackmailing people, I would tell them, why blackmailing people? Before we get into that. And then, of course, he completely misrepresented the whole, him trying to stay out of it. And he left out so much. But then when Jimmy Dore made the response video, it just re-energized my interest in this story, and we'll get to a few of the fun stuff. But yeah, go ahead, Sam.
I would say, unlike you, sadly, I fell for it first. I agree. I was very surprised about the blackmail thing that wasn't brought up because that seemed to be the important issue. But the drama part, I was a bit, okay, fair enough. You're friends with both of them, stuff. But then, Jimmy Dore made the response video, which I was wrong. And also, Jimmy was completely right.
And TYT did turn it into drama. TYT turned it into drama. But that initial part, what they said about Aaron Maté, that's not drama whatsoever, what they're saying. And, they should have followed up. They should have followed through their thoughts. If you're saying Aaron Maté is paid by the Russian, so just say the rest. That means you think Max Blumenthal is paid by Russian and the Grayzone are complete bullshit. Or exactly, apologize now that a month has passed.
I think, to be honest, the tiny bits at the end are drama, but there's a big issue about whether TYT is a progressive channel or not, basically.
And also the stuff that they said specifically about Aaron Maté. I mean, how is that?
And Julian Assange.
And Julian Assange, and of course then blackmailing Jimmy Dore.
Dore.
I thought the way Jimmy Dore, the way he handled it was the best way he could have possibly handled those bullshit accusations.
The response video to Kyle was, that was great. Man.
I mean,
and that was just go through. I mean, maybe we are rubbling through,
but people,
drama,
there's so much.
But I do think his responses are worth just
100%.
Bullet pointing.
Let's get it. I have them. I have a few bullet points for the responses. They're not in particular order. They're kind of in what shocked me the most. So the first one is really that tweet by Kyle that Jimmy Dore pulls out. And Jimmy Dore's tone and everything in this video
is very good.
Very well. He did it. And there was no bust.
I love this Jimmy Dore so much because it was so, and it's reminded me of this Jimmy Dore that, because he was, I think, sad a bit. He seemed genuinely sad, but it reminded me of the time he talked about his financial issues with his back issues. And I love this. I mean, it's maybe because I don't like this anyway. But sorry.
No worries. But they took it easy. They took it easy on him. Like I was telling you, it wasn't like bust saw Aaron. It was just like saw Aaron. He just took it easy. Would come in every now and then. Like they didn't even go full out.
But little poke here and there.
Tweet, man. Go ahead.
He did a lot of good. He did say some good stuff in his video, Kyle, as well. Like he did on issues, at least on Syria and stuff. He took their sides. But I think he made a fatal omission.
Yeah, exactly. So first, let's start with Kyle's old tweet. This just shocked me. And now when I read this tweet and Anna's response, Jimmy Dore shouldn't even have apologized for that joke. I mean, I'm joking. She shouldn't make those kind of jokes. But come on, look at his tweet. If Cenk Uygur masturbates live on the Young Turks, viewers drops to 12 people. If Anna Kasparian does, viewers go to 6,000. What the hell? This is the kind of world. And I mean, Jimmy Dore showed the videos that they were doing before. And my favorite part is that Anna Kasparian responds literally 3 years later, right?
No,
2013,
7 years.
7 years, sorry, 7 years later, saying that is highly offensive, Kyle. Only 6,000. I mean, once jokes like this are
That's,
being
to me,
thrown
though,
around, yeah.
Anybody who watched TYT from, because I was living abroad, I was at uni, I didn't have TV and stuff, so we were sort of the natural, we watched it, Secular Talk and TYT and all of that, and it was always like that. Internet in the beginning was a lot more about shocking and about the videos that go viral, and oh, that person cut off that person's penis, the other person I don't know, put something up there, blah blah. That's what, and TYT was very much involved in that, as Jimmy Dore. So the high horse, and Kyle himself too. Go back. How there's so many Kyle stories about like a father wanted to marry his daughter in Minnesota. I'm sorry, but is that a substantial story that is changing the world, or is that drama? And I mean, you should go through your points, because I have a massive problem with the hypocrisy of. I think, yeah, I got this point from reading comment sections. But Kyle was very happy to comment on all the drama behind the scenes of the Hill and the Crystal and Kyle and Saagar. Oh, that's because that's a corporation that you don't know the head, or that's a company that you don't know the head. That's completely fine drama and bullshit like that. That's all drama. That's not drama. That's a substantial story about how corporate world works. But now, because it's your friend, and because it's a smaller company, maybe, I don't know, that's the only justification I can come with. Oh, suddenly it's all drama.
Exactly. And we actually made a video on Kyle's, I called it like semi-weak claims towards the Hill, because I did find his claims to be kind of semi-weak at the time too. But exactly, I also saw that in the comment section.
By the way, I'm like the joke that you read on Twitter. I would never make that joke to my friends. Usually we don't make that joke, but I've had friends that make these jokes to each other, and it's on Twitter or somewhere else, and it's completely fine if it's a joke and if both sides are on board and on the same thing. And maybe Jimmy and Anna weren't on the same level of friendship or whatever. I don't know, but don't get off your fucking high horse.
Exactly, that's the thing,
it's
right?
Just, yeah, it's
and Jimmy apologized, and it's from 7 years later, and Jimmy Dore apologized.
And he apologized, and then after many years, she has gone thinking back, what can I use to shut him up?
Yeah. Okay, so I'll go to my points, and then we'll see if you want to add. So my second one was just Kyle's take on Jimmy's joke was just completely overblown, and add to that what we just said, that Jimmy Dore apologized. Then the other one, which of course we didn't know until Jimmy came out, is the way they treated Jimmy over that interview. I mean, let me just, I mean, don't interview Jimmy Dore if you don't want. But hold on, I'm saying don't interview Jimmy Dore if you don't want. The worst part is that they didn't even tell him in advance after everything that it's canceled. They waited for this poor guy to connect, wait, and then 2 hours later or something, they're like, oh yeah, no, we're trying to stay away.
And I don't know if you remember in our production meeting, I think Jimmy mentioned in the video, he was talking about Anna's direct message. He did say that he's going to be on Kyle and Crystal soon. And I even then I thought, oh, it's strange. He said that then, but it hasn't happened. 3 weeks has passed and stuff. But now, yeah, the level of unprofessionalism, because as somebody who for now has to work and stuff, like you set up an appointment and you don't even respond for a couple of hours after the set appointment.
Yeah.
This is, I'm sorry, but the level, and then they expect what? The Hill to be professional with you?
Exactly. No, exactly. I love the Hill
and
part.
Then instead, and instead they have Hassan Piker on, which characterizes the whole thing as Jimmy Dore drama.
Yeah.
And by the way, back then, before all of this, I was a bit more like, this is a bit of a bullshitty drama. Commenters like us commenting on other people's commenting. It's a bit, but fuck you, Jimmy Dore drama. They try to smear somebody about Syria, again proving that their news channel is completely wrong on foreign policy majority of the time. like it's been for most of the time. And then they try to shut him up through a slight threat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Jimmy Dore
absolutely.
drama.
I mean,
Yeah.
when TYT couldn't follow up on that threat, that was so pathetic. Their response video, like Jimmy says, they didn't respond to any of his criticism, but it was also so pathetic because they had nothing to follow up. You know, I thought after that, okay, maybe Anna has at least 3 other examples, but just nothing. And then he ripped them apart with that video showing their
she had
hypocrisy.
Jimmy asked her where she buys
But
her
the
jeans
yeah.
for his wife.
Yeah.
And that's as we all know, that's a clear breaking of boundaries at a workplace like TYT, where everybody is respectful and wears a suit every day, and nobody talks about having sex with animals or anything like that.
Or that Cenk will not now have sex with Britney Spears after they talk about her private parts for like 10 minutes, and then Anna goes out and does that experiment that Anna did. Jesus, that video by Jimmy Dore, I mean, they just killed it. But I'm reaching near the end of my points. My other one was that I already mentioned this, that Buzz saw Aaron was on manual mode. So I won't make that joke again.
Slightly, yeah. But the ending I think Jimmy really shined in this video, because he does point out the fact that, you expect that's why people, for example, were, I think, much harsher on Bernie Sanders when he, for example, or they are much harsher. Nobody expects Joe Manchin to stand up for the little guy. Nobody. Like this, it's not even in the in the brain. But when AOC, somebody who has promised, or Kyle Kulinski, when somebody who has always been fair is suddenly unfair or something, that's really it's kind of your whole bearing is anyway.
Yeah, and my last point is what it's the point that Jimmy makes, is that he says that he hopes this is the last one and that it's over. But that's really up to Kyle Kulinski and Cenk and Anna. I mean, they have 2 things they can do. One is to just be quiet. I think that's what they're going to do, and definitely not keep on attacking, because I mean, it's like 10-0 right now. Like on the Jimmy Dore and Aaron Maté side, they might stop this game right now, be like, this is unfair. They're not 2 sides that should be competing with it against another. But yeah, and I mean, they should at the very least apologize on the Aaron Maté thing. I mean, that's just like the bare minimum, but I don't think it's going to happen. So I don't know if I have anything else. Like I said, the craziest thing for me, and when I was shocked by Kyle's tweet, but really the craziest was the way that they handled the whole interview. I mean, that was just nuts.
That was like with my dad. I don't do that with people I know and friends, and it's many years. I feel like if 2 hours after appointment, sorry, we want to distance ourselves from you because you're a bit toxic right now.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay, so I don't know if you have anything else to add on here. No, we can move on to Nathan Robinson and Glenn Greenwald. So yeah, folks, let us know what you think about this whole Kyle Kulinski, Jimmy Dore, Aaron Maté thing. Let us know if you disagree with some points, comments, criticisms. Go ahead.
No, just I thought we started the next segment.
No, okay, so let me start the next segment. Let me just make a little, what I think the main points of contention are. So Nathan Robinson, he wrote an article about Glenn Greenwald and Matt Taibbi, more about Glenn Greenwald, but both of them really. And he makes a few criticisms and accusations, and then they had the bad faith kind of debate. I watched the first part, but Sam told me the second part was uploaded this morning, but I haven't seen it. So you'll tell me what it's about. But here, Sam, these are what I find to be the main points of contention, and then we'll go through some of the quotes that Nathan Robinson has put in his article. So based on the article and the 40 minutes I've listened to, one point of contention is just Glenn going on Fox and Matt Taibbi going on Fox and the whole thing there. The second one is the degree to which the Democratic and Republican Party are different and how different are the consequences of their ruling. The third one being that Trump is just the worst criminal president of all time, just like an insanely unique danger. And then the fourth one is just, even in the video, I thought that Nathan Robinson makes a bunch of criticisms and points where he doesn't agree with Glenn Greenwald's analysis. but which is fine. They don't agree, but I feel like they don't add, like they don't support necessarily his overall thing. They're just, you think this, I think that. So a lot of examples there. So, but yeah, before we get into it more, what do you think? Did you find that these are the main points of contention between the two of them?
Yeah, and more fundamentally, maybe what is the role of a journalist and where should he or she put his focus? But yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything you want to add there. So, I mean, one thing that I think is just a big trap that people should not fall into, and that is the Republican and Democrats are so similar that when you start trying, I mean, to me, they're just good cop, bad cop. It's literally the same thing. Like a good cop, bad cop, they have this dynamic, but they all have the same objective, right? They both have the same objective, whether it's the good cop or the bad cop. And in this case, the Democrat and the Republicans, overall, they're working towards the same path. So when you start trying to make differences and differentiate between them, you got to just know that it's just at the level so like, they're just so similar and they're moving towards such a same objective that when you start saying, oh, they're bad at worse than this and bad and that, I mean, it's even, for instance, when they keep on saying he was so much worse on climate and all this, right? I mean, really have to start looking at one by one and the impact that it had, and that's Trump. So I think that's just one big trap, which makes kind of that conversation hard because it's just at such a detailed level, the differences on the overall impact that these two have.
I don't think so. To be fair, I think at the very, very local level, yeah, there are differences. At the national, federal, global level, no, there isn't. And I mean,
and here we're talking about
just before
level.
you, like with Nathan Robinson, very much in opposition to our last segment with Kyle Kulinski, I'm very happy to. I don't think he's actually I think he's wrong on all his points, and he's not even honest. To be completely, I think so, but that's neither here or there. I can't see into people's minds or anything. But he's I don't understand what you're defending here. They are the same.
What I'm
Democratic
defending?
and Republican Party.
Or he is.
Like you're saying that there is a mini. Well,
no,
you're not, like
that's
you said,
not my point.
I thought you're.
I'm saying that sure. I mean, of course, they're not 100% the same. So there are some small differences, but it's at just such a lower, like it's just like after you talk about just how similar they are, their objective is the same. That's kind of my point with the good cop, bad cop analogy. They both want to achieve the same thing. The good and the bad cop have the exact same objective.
Well, he would say internally, he would say, for example, the Republicans want to kill all the black people, but Democrats don't.
Yeah, I mean, is that true? And in practice, does it turn out being any different? That's like the second point to make there. But then,
yeah. Well, to be fair, I think I think this person has. I don't know. I don't think he. That's actually. Let me just put this out there. Just get it off of my chest. Especially after watching the second episode. In the first episode, Brianna Joy Gray mentions that apparently he was one of the first people that published her, and so they had a working relationship, as well as Glenn. So they are both all three had a working relationship at some point. But she's way too nice to him, and this man is engaged as if he's like, as if I think. Yeah, as if, to be honest, he's a political theorist or he's a good political analyst who hasn't been. This is a man. He wrote a couple of months ago an article criticizing Crystal Ball for having a show with Saagar and Jetty, again for enabling. You're criticizing Democrats and you're enabling Nazis, literally like enabling, and because populism, right, has in America right now, and Nazi socialism was a populist thing. These are the same. And then this is a person who was axed by Guardian as a regular columnist because of a joke tweet he did. And then he deleted that joke tweet. Still, Guardian didn't want to have anything to do with him. And then a lot of leftists defended him, and he went on all their podcasts, including Katie Halper, who is, I assume, one of the people he's very critical, because he's very critical of Matt Taibbi and he's writing, and Matt Taibbi does a lot of things with Katie Alper. And after that, again, he's come on Brianna Grayjoy, and he talks about he may be right on some issues, like you mentioned. He doesn't, but he's not talking about those issues. He's what he's talking about is what he's not talking about. He's all the time implying that there should be a council, there should be a system, there should be a law that sets the agenda for the people who are progressive. And it seems that he thinks he's the one who should decide about that. Like his whole, this debate they had on the second episode is about, they focus on this example of Jesse Singer, who writes about the transitioning. And his idea that, I think because they had this Twitter spat with Glenn Greenwald after Jesse Singer was criticized by GLAAD, a pro-trans organization. Glenn criticized GLAAD, and then Nathan Robinson criticized Glenn. And all his, like, whenever he talks about Matt Taibbi, Glenn Greenwald, Crystal Ball, whenever he talks about all these people, he never talks about the things they talk about that much as the fact that, oh, you're making the right wing stronger. Oh, you're agreeing with the right wing. How am I agreeing with the right wing? Even if I am agreeing with the right wing, is everything that the right wing person says ever wrong? If they say Earth is not flat, I'm agreeing with the right wing. Earth is not flat. I'll just give you an example, because that's, and then talk about drama and all that. For example, this is doing the exact quote from his tweet regarding a Matt Taibbi. Do you want to read? Maybe you should read the Matt Taibbi.
I'm not sure if I have this one. Go ahead, read it.
It's the Fox News one.
But why don't you read it if you have
it? So Matt Taibbi wrote, Fox News is one channel that no longer represents real institutional political influence in this country anymore. The financial, educational, political elite with all the power is on the other side, and I think they're the people to be worrying about. I don't completely agree, because I do think some Christian right-wing groups still have institutional political power, but I think it's a largely reasonable point. Maybe not, whatever. But look at Nathan Robinson. Two examples, though the piece goes much deeper. Taibbi repeats the right-wing talking point that all the power is on the other side, and Fox News has no influence. This ignores the entire court system, state governments, and the Senate. The right can block almost anything. So again, as I said, I don't think that quote is right. There are a lot of Christian right-wing organizations that do have power, but he doesn't engage in that. He does mention a state and federal government, which again, we all agree. First of all, I think when they wrote that, when they wrote that the Congress wasn't fully controlled by the Democrats. What about now? And by the way, are Democrats not right-wingers? What according to most of the world, Democrats are right-wingers.
He wouldn't. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I have a few points to add, actually. I don't know if you want to continue.
Sorry, I have a slight technical difficulty. I can't hear you.
Oh, yeah. Can you hear me now?
I'm just fixing. Yeah, sorry about this. But just my whole thing, I went off. But I don't think anybody considers. Maybe it's a discussion over definitions, because I don't consider Democrats left-wingers. I consider them as slightly
I mean, it's funny that you said. Sorry, I thought you were done with your points.
No, it's just I highly suggest. I just don't think this person is really arguing the issues. For example, the detransitioning thing. People can watch today's video for themselves, but he strawmans Glenn Greenwald in real time, which is quite interesting. And again, I don't understand what's his point at the end. At the end, okay, you want to have everybody check with you before they publish? Sorry, Mr. Robinson, I just wrote 3 articles about how good gay people are. May I write one about how bad gay people are? There is, like, everybody has a bias, right? Everybody has a bias. That doesn't mean you have to have an agenda. And I think, I think just because he has an agenda, everything he writes, he thinks everybody has an agenda. But no, everybody has bias. They have a type of, but they see things, they describe them. They don't necessarily think 3 moves ahead like some people and try to indirectly imply censorship, indirectly imply control in name of protecting minorities, which, I mean, the whole argument, like, for example, he goes on about the transitioning, they are focusing on the negative. 24/7, the media is filled with positive stories about transitioning. And then he's like, oh, there's too much focus on the negative side. And other examples. I don't mean on this, maybe I'm wrong on this specific issue, but it's just, I don't like this. Come out and say it. You want to control, you want people to check with you what they write beforehand, or with a council or whatever. That's what you want, right? Because you don't talk about the substance that much. I looked at Jesse Singer's book, and I really think he put so many caveats. He put so many ifs and buts. And anyway.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry.
Nothing. I just want to add a few things to what you're saying. And one of them is, I'm sorry if we come off as if our ideas and we're all over the place, but I blame Nathan Robinson on that, because the podcast was all over the place. His article, I swear I tried reading like 4 times, 5 times. Maybe I'm not smart enough. It's all over the place. Exactly. I guess his main point, if any, is, okay, don't go on right wing. I guess that's like his main point. Or he wants, when you go on it, to always be adversarial. And that's one thing I want to highlight. So Glenn was also trying to say that I'm not trying to go on Fox News to have a got you moment, because if you do that, you're not going to be invited against. But we can debate the merit of it. But Glenn thinks establishing this kind of, relationship will be more effective, because if you go, you'll have one got you moment, which is cool. It will go on the internet, but they're not going to call Glenn again. And then, so that's why, because Nathan is like, here, but hold on, let me finish. But because he says, Nathan goes like, you see, here you said, what's his name? Ben Carlson said, blah, blah, blah. And you said, agreed, and went on. And then Glenn was trying to make the point that I'm not there just to get him. And hey, I agreed with what he said there. Maybe you think that I didn't agree, but I'm not going to just fight back every single thing that the person says, because then I'll be invited once or 2 times. But I think if I go and talk a lot, there's a good chance that maybe, I'll attract some more people towards, what I think are better policies and issues. So go ahead.
No, to be honest, if there is a got you moment, if one of them suddenly says, maybe Hitler was a good guy, of course you should got you that guy there. Like, what the fuck? No, you have to be adversarial at that moment. But then I'll go on Tucker Carlson's show, and for example, the issue at hand is immigration. And no, we have to talk about football. We have to talk about football. There was that famous Norwegian or Danish scientist that I hate, Rutger. He became famous because of that. He went on Fox News or something, and they kept asking him about something, and it's no different to me than when a right-wing politician tries to, they ask him about economy and talks about family values or something. It's no different than from that. Secondly, to be honest, I'm not a big believer in the fact that Glenn Greenwald or Jimmy Dore, they'll convince a lot of people by going on Fox News or anything. But first of all, it's boring to talk to people who you always agree with. I don't understand how these people work, but I find that very boring to 24/7. Oh, you think this is good too? Me too. Anyway, that's one thing. Second of all, they may get paid for it, so fuck you. They do it. If they invite me somewhere and they want to, and they get exposure. They get exposure for sure, even if they don't change mind. Second, if all of that besides, it's been 20 years, 30 years since Fox News has been on. If you really believe that, go do a research, prove that these appearances has a negative effect on Fox News audience, or has a positive, or whatever. Do some research, just out of your ass. I think your appearances on the Fox News legitimizes them and blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, good for you, good for your opinion. It's just again, I don't understand what he wants to do besides putting up a state censorship or a council of guardians or something. I don't understand how he wants to resolve other people having different opinions to him, because his major problem seems to be that, oh, they have different opinions to me.
Yeah, exactly. Because a lot of the things, they're like, you agree with this, I don't agree with that. It's just on that point, and they kind of have a back and forth. But yeah, people, his article, if you want to go read it, Current Affairs, the website is beautiful. So that's great. I found it to be all over the place. And it's one thing that you mentioned. It's funny. You said about the Democrats, everybody knows they're right and all that. He calls them the left. And I don't understand why we've started referring to Democrats as the left. They have a good name. It's called Democrats, and everybody knows what you're referring to. So stop calling them left, even if you think they are or they're not. It's just confusing when you start. I just find it confusing. They're the Democrats. Everybody knows who you're talking about.
Sure. I got into a slight YouTube comment thingy with one of our commenters. Do you remember many months ago when I said TYT, or maybe he meant it within the American context of politics? But I agree. But then, yeah, Democrats are to the left of Republicans on certain social issues. Maybe if the weather is good and if nobody's around. So. Yeah, you're right. But it's out of habit. It may happen. So I apologize.
I just find it confusing.
But categorizing Democrats as even remotely good guys, like they are in many ways worse than Republicans. I think so. Anyway, a lot of other people think so. And you may not agree with that.
Yeah.
But just because we say this, we are not emboldening Nazis. It's just such a massive jump to the conclusion.
I mean, just by being good cop, that could be why you can say they're worse, because they try to fool people more, even though their final objectives are very similar to the Republicans, although they present themselves differently, and there are some differences, of course.
They're better managers. Usually they're much better managers. Obama was a better imperial, as I think Chomsky puts it, imperial manager or something, was an imperial manager than Trump was, definitely. But that's not a good thing necessarily. Yeah. And by the way, mentioning Chomsky, another thing I hate about this guy, and he does that in one of his tweets about the thing. Sorry, I'm being personal for no reason. I don't know the guy, and I just disagree with him vehemently on certain issues. Sorry for that. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
And another thing is he keeps appealing to Noam Chomsky.
Yeah.
And I like Noam Chomsky. I love his books. He's been an influence, great man. Much, anything I say is stupid compared to what he says. Well, I'm a human being, and no two human being agree. Glenn Greenwald is a human. He keeps trying to bring and Matt Taibbi says that in an interview with Primo channel. It's a new YouTube leftist channel I quite like. Primo, I don't know. But Matt Taibbi says Noam Chomsky is not the Pope, and he's not the arbiter of truth. And it's very rude, to be honest, to Noam Chomsky to put him in this position. He keeps as Noam Chomsky says, as that's okay, no more debate then. It's not, and it puts him in the awkward position as well, because his words are not written in stone. It's not like God spoke to Moses and shall it be. But these tactics, these weaselly tactics really get on my nerve. But not to criticize, I'm sure, by the way, at the end, Noam Chomsky is probably right about some issues that I disagree with him, but I can't change it. It is what it is. I can't change it. And I'm sure a lot of other people feel the same, especially about Noam Chomsky.
Yeah. So, I mean, the Noam Chomsky one, exactly. He uses the Noam Chomsky example for two things specifically. For why Trump is the worst. No, one of them is why Trump is the worst criminal of all time. And he says Noam Chomsky agrees with that. And I don't even see how you can make that statement without at least saying why you think he's worse than George Bush. I mean, just on the numbers.
He does talk about the environmental stuff a lot. Exactly. He keeps saying, me and Chomsky think, fuck off.
So let me continue with the environmental. The other one is exactly, he uses Chomsky's climate thing. because Chomsky says what Trump has done to the climate is the worst thing. But climate change, if I understand, is a process that goes back 300 years. You're telling me Trump, I know he got out of the Paris Agreement, whether if he was in the Paris Agreement, if there were any differences, and I know he did some things for the environment, he cut off some regulations, which could lead to pollution here and there. But impacting climate change in 4 years, I mean, him and Chomsky, based on what I'm seeing, they make it seem like Trump is the reason why there is climate change. I mean, I find that one to be really a hard issue to actually pin it on Trump because it's such a long-term thing.
I don't know. I remember Chomsky talking about this, and in that sense, maybe he has a point. There is a very limited window of maybe 10 to 20 years if we are not going to see complete environmental catastrophe. And in that sense, 4 more years of Trump may have been maybe not, as you say, he's not the cause, he's not the thing or anything, but it may have been the straw that broke the camel's back, basically. But I disagree with that, but I'm just saying maybe that's the argument because we have such a short window. I personally think we are already far beyond that, to be honest. And it's at this point, I personally am just thinking about finding the highest place with water to live, because I genuinely think within the next 20 years, it's already happening. Canada is burning. Japan is being, there are floods in Japan, washing whole cities off. In Iran, in the south, there is no water anymore. People are dying. Forests everywhere. So I think it's just the environmental issue, the most noble issue of our age, in my view. It's over. We've lost, and that's my take. But I think their take would be, because we had such a brief window. If there was 4 more years of Trump, and then he would have, there was a greater chance of another 8 years of like a Republican presidency. And I believe, I'm not sure about this, people can correct me, Chomsky may believe, and I kind of believe that Trump, if Trump had another 4 years, he may have made a serious move towards, I doubt it because he's so lazy and incompetent, but there was a chance, like if there was, like he may have made a move to become sort of a president for life type thing. Or
I haven't,
maybe
in his 4 years, he demonstrated that he can wreck things, right? He can come out of the Paris Agreement, but he didn't show one example where he can build or change something, exactly, like change it in a way so he can be like president for life and stuff. There was no indication that he had any of these capabilities of putting 2 or 3 things together.
No, there was no indication he had any of these capabilities, but he did talk about it a lot. Because the 12 more years, 16 more years.
Man, like, come on. Like, his attempt of delegitimizing the election was pathetic. I mean, he lost big time. Like, it didn't go anywhere. It was absolutely pathetic.
Sure. But he did. No, I know. But yeah, I agree. He was incompetent and pathetic. But I'm just saying that's not the view they share. And they might say, okay, he was pathetic and idiot. But somebody like Mike Pence, who has strong ties to Christian militia groups and Christian crazy people, they may guide him, they just use him as a puppet. Again, I don't agree with any of this. I'm just saying that, you're like the environmental issues. I agree with you. I just wanted to give them a fair representation. That's all. As fair as I can, at least.
Okay, so I think we've spent way too much time on this story now. Even the quotes, I don't know if we should go over them because you actually went over my favorite quote, which was the first one about Fox News. So, I mean, I think if we go through all the other ones, we're going to be here for another hour. So
yeah, but I mean, I think I think one of them.
Is there anyone in particular?
Like the Maté one. Look, listen to this. Woke leftists are capitalists. Jamie Dimon kneeling and Nancy Pelosi in a I don't know, Knet cloth, a scarf are perfect symbols of the union. So look, Matt Taibbi is talking about woke. leftist. He's not talking about all of the left. He's not talking about everybody who's a socialist. He's talking about woke leftists. So that's the, and there is another one with Greenwald about the cultural left, meaning the part of the left focused on culture rather than imperialism or corporation. So they target a specific group in the left when they're criticizing them. They don't do a wishy-washy, rambling
100%.
on article.
And since you really read the Fox News one, I mean, that's the one I was more, actually had the most opinion about. So when he wrote, Fox News is one channel that no longer represents real institutional political influence in this country anymore, I really agree with that, because I think they peaked maybe 10 to 12 years ago. And then they had two of their major people taken, like one of them passed away and the other one is, I don't know what. And then, but let me finish.
Sexual misconduct, both of them.
Yeah, so they had two of their big guys removed. And then I know that Nathan Robinson, for instance, says, look, the Fox News were directly like influencing policy during the Trump era. I agree. During the Trump era, they had this like direct link. They would say, and then Trump would pick those things up. So even if that is true, it's over. So I definitely agree with Matt Taibbi here now that it no longer represents. They've definitely lost a lot of influence and power, Fox News, over recent years.
I completely and wholeheartedly disagree, and I don't think they ever had any influence, and they still don't have any influence. During Trump years, I don't think they had any influence. Just because some president claimed, again, just like the arguments we had right now, right? Trump said a lot of things that was like 16 more years, 18 more years, that type of thing that clearly could imply, just because Fox News implies they have a good relationship with it's like the Ukraine policy, for example. They keep saying under Trump, US was much harsher on Ukraine and was softer than Russia. Not true at all. Any unbiased, I would say, analyst would say that under Biden they became much tougher they are becoming a bit more conciliatory towards Russia with the arm deals and all that. So I don't accept that at all. That they peaked 10 years ago in terms of popularity. That's all. Popularity has nothing to do with power or influence. I would say they're like all of these organizations are propaganda organizations. And I think Fox News is funded by the military-industrial complex and Christian Zionists and Christian nut jobs, basically. And they are still representing them. And they're still doing that same old shit. And I think they have some institutional support and power. But but not the biggest. No, for sure. Right now, the biggest are Silicon Valley people and that type of thing. But no, I just don't think they ever had any influence whatsoever. They're just like a state news agency in Soviet countries where
I would say
they represent a group and they repeat them.
Probably due to their popularity and how connected they were to the Republican Party. I would push back and I would assume that they had more influence back then, but I don't have any evidence now to show you or something like that.
I look, Roger Ailes was a former Nixon official, if I'm not mistaken. The Republican Fox News was an outgrowth of Republican Party, right? So they always had that and they still have that. I just don't think anything significant.
Now, I would say.
Yeah, I just don't think also because right now on YouTube and on all these Vice and all of these 24/7 on Disney Plus, everywhere you're 24/7, you just see trans people and you see leftists and you see woke people and you see all of that. I just don't think because of that they lost all institutional power, or because Joe Biden is in prison. Joe Biden is not that much more to the left of Trump, so I don't see. But then again, I mean, that's a side discussion. But I don't think they've lost all institutional power.
Okay, fair enough. I say we leave that at there. And the next story actually complements this story very well. So pretty much
I caused the last segment to overrun it by 30 minutes.
It's all good. I mean, we're just here to have some fun with the progressive world, more or less. Even I think today's story has much more. I mean, today's episode has much more substance than usual. But so Glenn Greenwald, and this story like goes very well with the previous one. So Glenn Greenwald covered this, that pretty much Rachel Maddow's lawyers, right? They were trying to sue Rachel Maddow or whatever, what's his name? The news organization OAN was trying to sue them because Rachel Maddow said that they are literally, she used this word literally, Russian paid actors, right? So she put it that way. She said literally they're Russian paid propagandists. So then to defend themselves in court, right? Rachel Maddow and MSNBC's lawyer, to defend themselves in court, they came and said, listen, everybody knows that this is the Rachel Maddow show and facts are not a thing. People are here for her opinion. So the fact that this was absolute bullshit and these accusations are not true doesn't matter. And then Glenn Greenwald points this out. This is the exact same defense that Ben Carlson and Fox News had given for him. And then the left keep on trying to use Tucker Carlson, and the left try to keep on always using that excuse. You see, even Fox News says that they're bullshit and they're not news, but you go on there. Why do you do that? So here, let me read.
Alex Jones used the same argument. It's entertainment.
Yeah,
it's entertainment.
Exactly. So she used
By the way, same with us.
And I mean, they won the case. MSNBC won the case. And this is what the judge said. Viewers expect her to do so. So meaning expect for her to interject her opinion. And it is indeed her show. And viewers watch the segment with the understanding that it will contain Maddow's personal and subjective views about the news. Thus, the court finds that as the part of the totality of the circumstances, the broad context weighs in favor of a finding that the alleged defamatory statement is Maddow's opinion, an exaggeration of the Daily Beast article, and that reasonable viewers would not take that statement as factual. So the judge is like, yes, I agree.
I would say 100% of times, usually, I agree with the case that like defamation and libel, in my view, are so stupid usually. But in this specific case, actually, I have some content. I would say just because she used the word literally, you know, like that changed the game for me, because you know, like usually people are smart enough. Alex Jones is smart enough to, although not all the time, but they're smart enough to not use the word literally, because that's the whole, like that's where the case hinged. Because if you do say they're paid by Russians, then you can say it's my opinion they were paid by Russians. Otherwise, why would they do this? Or why would they do that? But when you say they literally paid by Russians, but I would say, to be fair to the, like, I think she should have been fined, but yeah, whatever. But I would say, to be fair, if people, like, I appreciate Glenn and all these people highlighting their hypocrisy, and he points out, for example, Brian Stetler or whatever, he's on CNN, the guy who kind of looks like an egg, and he's he does the
media
unbiased corner or something. He's awful. He's awful. And he tweeted after Tucker Carlson verdict, he tweeted, look, even his producers admit he should be silenced and blah blah blah. It's good to point to all these things out, but I do think, I mean, if you, or like people seem to, like, they watched her, she has like 4 or 5 million viewers, and they are more, rather than viewers, we should probably call them cultists. Same with Tucker Carlson, by the way. These, like, for example, these cable shows, I think Max, they have 5 million views or something. So they have their cult, and, you know, their cult follows them. And sadly, you know, like if you don't, like, if you haven't known Rachel Maddow is a liar and just a showman, then I don't know if now you're going to be enlightened.
Well, they're not going to hear about this, and they probably don't think so. So like Glenn Greenwald said that he disagrees with the ruling, that their viewers probably don't know that it's bullshit, and I agree with that. I mean, they probably think that she said,
but if you can't figure that out, I think you're just not that intelligent. So it's good, it's okay, watch that, and hopefully don't watch. I hope.
But okay, Sam, I think we're reaching the end. We just have one more episode on UFOs. So there's a new UFO report that came out. Segment, sorry. Do you know anything about it, or should I tell you a little bit about the UFO
No,
report?
I heard a tiny thing on breaking points, but go ahead.
So yeah, first of all, I shouldn't be calling it UFOs. That's one of my main points. I think unidentified aerial phenomena is a better word. So pretty much part of the US military decided to put together this reporting system, and this part is important, you'll see, about 2 years ago. For anything that shows up and they can't explain, they just log it in here. And so they've identified since pretty much early 2000, 144 reports of unidentified aerial phenomena. However, the bulk of them are from like 2-3 years ago when they put together this reporting system, right? And pretty much they reached the conclusion that this is their own conclusion. The limited amount of high quality reporting on unidentified aerial phenomena hampers our ability to draw firm conclusions about the nature or intent of unidentified aerial phenomena. So they looked at 144 cases. They couldn't explain any of them except one. One of them, they found that the report that was airborne clutter, specifically a deflating balloon. So they only managed to explain one of them. And they're like, there's not enough evidence for the other 5. They're like, however, it could fall into the following categories: airborne clutter, natural atmospheric phenomena, US like programs that they don't know about, foreign adversary systems, and a
Massive
catch-all other
farts.
bin. Yeah, perhaps. And then another thing that's interesting to point out is that only 80 of these 144 observations were found across multiple sensors. So a good 60 of them were only on one kind of device.
What does that?
So that means like a sensor saw it, like a second sensor also detected
I
that.
see.
Yeah, so only 80 of them are like that. So a good 64 of them, there's just one piece of like reporting, right? And then only 18 of them, right, describe like some kind of weird movement of the whatever that they saw. So the other ones didn't include movement. So for me, just like everybody else, I just found that there was nothing there really in the report. Saagar interpreted the report in a bit of a kinder way, I would say. And for instance, I was listening to him. Like, for instance, he said, people say that, oh, it can't be because of, some people say that, it's broken radars and all that, but it can't be because of that, because they say that they saw it across multiple radars. Not true, only 80 of them. So that's just one thing to point out, right? Then secondly, he says that, oh, some people think that, it's like air balloons and all that, but they rule that out. They don't rule that out. Based on my reading, I don't know. I think that's what Saagar said, and my reading of the report, they don't rule it out. They just say that one of them is in fact balloons, but the other ones, they don't know. They don't rule it out. So it was just underwhelming, like other people said. And a few things are funny about this. All these incidents were around the US like military bases. I mean, the whole thing is so skewed. Most of them, they say it, are from the past 2 years around US training grounds. So I mean, just like from like a methodology sample that they have. And finally, this point I made it to you during the production meeting, our imagination with UFOs, I find, is just purely driven, or like aliens, sorry, not UFOs, aliens, is purely based on like, our imagination in movies and what we've seen. Why is our obsession with like being flying objects with the aliens? Maybe some have come now and they're just like under a rock in the form of a weird worm or something. I just find like the whole thing is purely guided by science fiction. And then what Saagar is like, I wish they had released a video or something, and people think that you can catch these things on your phone, but how are you going to see it in the middle of the night on top of the ocean going at this speed? So he just like described like a Transformer movie scene. I think, what is it, the third one where they're underwater or something? And they come out, I'm like, Saagar, is that the plot of the Transformer that you're presenting? So I don't know if others, what they make of the report, if they read it and heard Breaking Point's coverage. Go ahead.
Look, first of all, I would say we discussed this in the production meeting, your exposure to UFO alien material, like pop culture material, is far more limited, I think, than like there are really good concepts about aliens. And to be honest, if you think about it, the existence of aliens, a lot of scientists agrees, definitely for sure, because of just the amount of space and all that. It's just whether they're intelligent aliens, whether they can even communicate with us, whether they can contact us, or whether we can contact them. All of those are the issues. But yeah, I just think it's more to do with the fact that first of all, I genuinely believe, I think this is something that Saagar mentions, that it's not that, but I genuinely believe this is all largely to drum up financing for a space force and that type of thing, both in China, US, all of them are doing this type of shit. Iran, and I think most of this type of activities is because of that. I mean, these reports probably existed, though it's just now uncovering them now and all that. And frankly, I think even if there are UFOs are coming and like looking at us at night sneakily and stealing one person every 10 years and going, who gives a shit? The planet is on fire.
Saagar wouldn't agree with that.
We have, he's an idiot. I'm sorry. Again, I made it personal. We have explored more of the surface of the moon than our own fucking oceans. There are priorities. I just don't understand this. To be fair, though, I mean, Crystal and Saagar cover Breaking Points cover environmental issues a lot, so I'm doing a straw man attack here.
They have some of the widest coverage of issues if you compare to other YouTube channels.
Sure. No, this is more like just conspiracy theories about aliens. Because Ancient Aliens, that shitty TV show, is so popular among a lot of people I know. And by the way, when I was a kid, I have the books. Oh, I put them there in the box thingy nobody sees. I have the Chariots of Gods. I don't know if anybody, Eric von whatever. When I was a kid, I read all of these stuff because they argue that all the ancient civilizations are actually aliens and blah, blah, blah. And it's just so fucking, even if they are, who gives a shit? There's a rubbish island the size of Texas, and people are hungry, and there is no sewage system in half of the world. And it's just, who cares?
I know, and I mean that's the thing. That's the thing, because Saagar says this is one of the most important issues, and then he's like, there should be more interest and curiosity. But I don't know what he wants people to do about it. Like, even he can't do anything about it because there's nothing there. Like, if there was.
But by the way, just to make this a bit more substantially and not so personal about him, Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson.
He also, everybody who is a proponent of funding for NASA, funding for a space exploration, except in a very limited sense, I am very much critical of them. The amount of this money is being wasted on these vanity and military projects, that in reality, military projects masquerading as vanity and nationalistic projects, and this UFO bullshit and all that. And then all they have, when you say that, oh, but science works in mysterious ways. When we wanted to go to moon, we found out about the, what do you call them? The things that
Velcro.
Maybe, if you just studied fucking things sticking together, you would have found out about Velcro and wouldn't have spent so much money and effort.
If you spend all your research money there,
I genuinely hate space exploration. And sure, in a million years, of course we have to do it. But right now we have more pressing issues. And this may, by the way, I'm just psychotherapizing myself, but I read, when I was a young kid, I read Sherlock Holmes, and in that he doesn't know about the what you call them, the planetary system. He doesn't, and it's very surprises Watson. And then Sherlock is like, but your brain has a limited amount of space, and I don't want to fill it with useless shit. And that's why I'm like this. But it's really, sorry for.
No, I think
I apologize for personalizing. No, with you, yes, but sorry for personalizing.
Yeah,
if I have with certain words or something.
Yeah, you shouldn't have done that. Putting it aside, hopefully our viewers can forgive us. But overall, with the whole space thing, I find so much money wasted.
Pisses
And I
me
mean,
off.
Saagar says one of the bigger stories. I mean, yeah, the day that a journalist takes a photo with a nice, like, alien under his arm, I'm sure that will be the biggest story.
No.
But how is anybody supposed to follow up on these? Like, I don't even.
Man, they find a fucking dead microbe on Mars, and it's on the front page of Guardian. So I don't know what he wants. What more do you want? Please, just oh god. But so yeah, I just don't agree that. And yeah, to be honest, I would say even if they find a living, I think they may have found living creatures on Titan, a moon of Jupiter or something. They may have find something living somewhere on Mars or moon of Titan, on Mars or a moon of Jupiter. So that's really cool. That's a game changer and all that. But yeah, chill out with the fucking reports and like, oh, I saw a gas, weird gas, maybe an alien.
Yeah. No. Exactly. But okay, I think that's that.
Sorry.
And there was this new professor who came out about a book I told you, and his new book says that this one piece of like rock or something might come from another, civilization or something. I didn't see any follow-up on that. I wonder what Saagar thinks. Well, I thought maybe Joe Rogan would interview him, but I don't think I came across it. And Joe Rogan went down the alien, like was obsessed with aliens for a long time. And his backup excuse was that, well, we'll find out if the government lies to us or not. I'm like, buddy, there's easier ways to find out if the government lies to us, but sure.
They do.
Take my word.
No.
But I think even he lost interest in this kind of alien story.
No.
But
I actually watched one of his old videos about moon landing, and I do agree with like some of the conspiracy theorists about moon landing that some of the footage was faked, for example, because they were worried maybe they crash or something. But like, yeah, but in the end of the line, it doesn't matter that much anyway. Like, so many more important issues, and they talk it can be a game changer for humanity. Maybe in 2,000 years. Right now, I want my sewage system fixed.
All right. On that note, thank you everybody for watching. Please leave your comments, questions, criticisms, everything below, and we'll make sure to get them. We always do. We usually do. But yeah, Sam, any final words?
I just want to say a Bad Faith podcast is a tiny, good 1-hour interview with an expert on Tigray situation, which is ongoing and we covered. And there was also a by-election in the UK that we wanted to cover, but we didn't have time. George Galloway, a famous leftist, lost, but Labour Party lost 20 points. So check out the content about that on Novaro Media. I highly recommend. And check out our other contents if you haven't, about Iranian elections, immigrants, geopolitical issues, a bit more substantial issues, perhaps.
100%. I'm glad that you brought up the Ethiopia one. Hopefully on Tuesday we can record another video on Ethiopia because there have been some developments this past week. But okay, thank you everybody for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you in our next video. Thank you.